partner would be investor, supporter, what have you. So go ahead in the chat box, go ahead in the comment sections. Either you're on YouTube, you're on Facebook, you're here on Zoom. Go ahead in the chat box, comment sections, and introduce yourself, your name, your city, and the country where you're following this from, and what you do. If you run a business, awesome. Tell us the name of your business, what you sell briefly. If you are a working professional, tell us your occupation and your top skills. I have seen people get employment in my comment sections. Right. So go ahead and do that. Go ahead and do that as we begin. As we begin. Okay. Awesome. Yes. Beautiful. Right. Oh, I forgot we're live on LinkedIn too. Yes. Our people on LinkedIn, you are not excluded from this family meeting. All right. Right. It is 8:30 GMT plus 1. It is 2:30 Central Time for those in North America. For those who are in different countries, what time is it in Turkey? What time is it in Dubai? I think Dubai is 11 p.m. at night. Um, Tokyo should be what, 4 a.m. in the morning. Australia should be 5 a.m. or so if I'm getting it right. So all the people from different countries, good to have you here and thank you for joining us. All right, 10:30 p.m. in Turkey, 11 p.m. in Dubai. All right. Yes, go ahead, keep on doing that. Stephanie from Washington, I think it's 3:30 Eastern Time. Okay. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. All right. So welcome again. And we proceed with what we started yesterday, Rita from Canada. All right. It's an international event. Okay. So it's so good to have you all here. This is day 2 of this program. If this is your first time of being here today, um, this is a program I do almost every year where I always host a special teaching program um, towards my birthday as a gift to my community. So I am supposed to be receiving gift, but I'm giving out gift. And that is how we are as Bansor people. We are very good people. Just joking, right? But again, I love doing that. I think it started about 5 or 6 years ago, where I always just intentionally do something like this during my birthday, because what is the best way to celebrate life than live your purpose, than live your calling, than live your mandate, right? This is what I get to give out birth as the gift of life, because another birthday is an opportunity to manifest destiny. It's an opportunity to do bigger things in purpose, an opportunity to do what God sent you here to do. So, and in this particular season, I'm running concurrently like two different things per se. Uh, there is the kingdom teaching programs, and then there is the industry teaching programs. And the kingdom teaching programs runs primarily with those who are members of my community, where I run a ministry of kingdom entrepreneurs and professionals from different industries and different countries who are members of the ministry. So if you want to be a member, I will share a WhatsApp link shortly in the group, and you can join and be part of our, morning session, which is the 4 a. It happens at 4 a.m. because that is a time where we are able to bring members of the community from different countries. That's a time that we all can gather on the same platform, right? So if you're not there, you're free to join that WhatsApp group to be part of the kingdom teaching that we do in this light. Okay. So yesterday we started on a journey looking at some wealth creation, wealth multiplication strategies and techniques, and I'm happy with the feedback that I got yesterday, and it was so profound. And we are going to proceed with in that light where I'll be teaching on what I call the judicious utility cycle. There is a cycle that if you follow and practice, no matter whatever level you are, you can be able to increase your wealth creation or your income. Okay. And I have seen this, I've used this so many times with different people, even those who are starting, those who are doing well and they want to expand their money making opportunities without necessarily getting something from outside, but using what they have already on the inside. It's like building on what we did yesterday. So if you did not partake on day one, where I taught on the asset activation framework as a tool for that, please go on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, and you will see day one of this teaching, the asset activation framework as a tool for making more money, and practice it. You will see a major shift in your life. So today, we take a deep dive on the judicious utility cycle. Like I always say, one of the most painful things to do is to be part of something that does not change your life, right? So, what am I trying to say? If you sit in this program and spend the next 1 hour, 30 minutes maximum with me, and you don't leave with something that you apply to experience transformation and change, you were entertained, you were not informed, and you were not transformed. And I always say that life is too short because if you, for example, if you're here and you have documented your life vision, you have documented your life vision and you have tried to see if you can achieve what God is laying in your heart to do in the next 50 years, you will see how short life is. Because personally, for me, the things that I have documented and I want to do in my lifetime, I have broken down life to 2070, and I'm not still seeing that I can do everything I want to do, right? So life is too short to live excited, to live entertained aimlessly without, you know, operating from a different realm of commitment and being mission minded. So, what am I trying to say? There's no need being part of programs. And like I always say, you see, when you clock 30 and above, you need to be careful how you use time because you don't have that much time. Because from 1 to 30, you can make all the stupid mistakes and that you want to do. From 30 to 60, if you are not building with precision, you are not building with wisdom, and you are still guessworking, you're confused, you're aimless, you don't know that you are entering injury time. Because when you're clocking 50 and 60, you should be entering your age of consolidation. If you have good health and you're eating well and living a healthy life, we can bet that you will see 90 years. So from 60 to 90, you're consolidating and thinking about legacy and transition, right? So I always say that one thing that you should know how to do after the age of 30 is to know how to make good use of your time. It's very important. Very, very important. You cannot be guesswork in certain things and you cannot be part of everything. One thing you need to learn how to do after the age of 30 is to learn how to say no and not be moved. You should not be experiencing the fear of missing out. You should be so mission minded, so purpose driven that you comfortably say, no, I am not interested, and it doesn't move you because you're focused on destiny. You're focused on the mission, on what God sent you here to do. Right? So I'm just trying to say that if you're sitting under this program, don't sit to be entertained. Be so mission minded and so expectation driven that you are so focused on integration. What I am going to learn, how do I integrate here? Because the Bible says that it is through wisdom that you build something and through understanding that you establish. And it is the right body of knowledge that gives you the wisdom to build and the understanding to establish. It's a divine law of building and establishment. So it's important to understand that. So we're looking today at the judicious utility cycle. What is it and why is it important for you to know, to practice, and especially what is the role of this concept in wealth creation or in orchestrating breakthroughs in what you want to do as a person? You see, I have spent a lot of time in doing consulting and coaching in my life so far, and I've worked with people that have done mind-blowing things in that generation. And one of the conclusions that I have is that breakthroughs in life are not accidental. There is a science, there is an art, and there is a depth of spirituality that is involved if you're going to break through in life. Breakthroughs are engineered. There are certain cycles, there are certain depths of understanding and wisdom you should be able to command if you are going to engineer breakthrough. Your ability to be resourceful and to intelligently apply certain types of knowledge will play a big role in how you break through in life and if you're ever going to be successful. Let's come down to the basics of finances. If you're going to have financial abundance, if you don't understand certain dimensions of resourcefulness, you don't understand how to intelligently apply certain principles and body of knowledge, you can desire finances. You can be in a stage where you live hand to mouth. You can be in that stage where if you want to do something with money and that money is beyond, let's say, 100,000 francs or beyond $1,000, you will have to borrow money before you do certain kind of things. If you want to break out from that kind of life, you see, you don't do that by accident. There are some things that you need to know how to do to break out from it. Right? And the concept of judicious utility cycle is your ability to understand how to extract maximum value from certain resources available to you and in the society where you belong, and you're able to capitalize on it and monetize it and be able to create wealth. So it is like understanding a repeated rhythm of assessing, applying, refining, redeploying existing resources or assets in order to achieve greater effectiveness and greater results in what you do. So it is a mental model that you need to understand when it comes to wealth creation. How can you be able to tap into different things that are available to you and use those things to be able to engineer breakthroughs that you would have never experienced if you did not know how to do what you're going to learn. Because you see, breakthroughs in anything are as a result of application, the intelligent application of something. If you're going to break through in a career, you're going to break through in a business, you're going to break through in a nation, you're going to break, like for example, I was talking to one of my mentees who recently moved to the United States, and I asked him, I said, I challenge him, based on the industry that you are, one thing you have to pay the price to acquire is acquire the body of knowledge that is important, that if you apply, it will enable you to break through in that nation. Because every nation has ways to break through. But it is your responsibility to acquire the intelligence needed. And this intelligence is diverse: spiritual intelligence, industry intelligence, economics intelligence, technology intelligence, even the political atmosphere intelligence. All of these things, environmental intelligence. You need to know which one to acquire and how to intelligently deploy it for your manifestation. And this judicial cycle I want to teach you, it cuts across an economic principle and a productivity principle. So when you're able to balance these two economic principles, economic and productivity principles, you can be able to produce something that can enable you to break through in whatever you are already doing. That's the goal. How can you take what you're doing and move it to a whole new level and break through to a whole new level? Because there are many people that they believe that if I'm going to make it, I need to get something new. And if they are in a place in life where they don't have the capacity to get that something new, they are narrow-minded. They don't begin to look at how can I use what I already have to break through, then I can get into deeper realms of better results in what I am looking for. You see, because one of the most important things you can know how to do is to have the awareness of your current capacity. And how can you begin to adapt that capacity into the needs or the opportunities or the environment where you are to produce new results or new breakthroughs? You see that? So the concept of judicious utility kind of insists that breakthroughs, they come not just from you wishing to have better resources, but how can you begin to leverage on what is already available so you can now get the better resources. Meanwhile, you are already doing so well where you are. So it defines growth, not as acquiring new input first, but by looking at how can I compound the usefulness of the input I already have in order to produce more and make more of what I want to get. So it is like a compass for using what you have to create breakthroughs. And this is one of the most important lessons that you can know in life. Because in every season of your life, you will always have things that you already own. And there will always be things that you want but you don't have. And the people that will keep rising in this life are people that they understand how to use what they have to get into levels that they can now get what they want. And the more you don't know how to use this judicious utility concept, you will always have so much that can enable you to get so much, and you will not be utilizing it to get the so much that you're supposed to get. You get a point now. So I want to show you quickly what I call the 4-stage utility cycle for breakthroughs. Looking at, all right, I desire to get this and get that. Okay, since I cannot get what I want, how can I still break through to the next level with what I already have? That's the mission of today. It's building up on what we handled yesterday around the asset activation framework. But I want to show you something different. And if you add to it, I guarantee you, you can hardly be stranded in life. You can hardly be stranded in life. So, what is that four-stage process that I recommend that you should go through? And especially, you are in a season where you feel blocked, you feel stuck, and you feel that there's no way out. Then this is what you need. Number one is what I call the stage of re-evaluation. Because you use this when you are in a place where you are not starting from square one. Because really, I always say that really nobody starts from square one except you're a newborn baby. Really, nobody starts from square one. If you fail in a business, you are starting from failed experience. That is not square one. There are some things that you can no longer do again because of the failure experience you have had. So I always advise people stop thinking or avoid this mindset or this consciousness that you're starting life from square one or you're starting life from the bottomless pit. No, you are not. Because if you keep thinking like that, you will not be able to see the advantages available to you that you can use to achieve more and build more. So the first stage of this four-stage utility cycle for breakthrough is re-evaluation. This is where you sit down, and I want to teach you something known as asset scoring. Now, and I'm going to give you examples how this can apply in different fields of life so that you can get this practically. So, revaluation is where you periodically, as a professional, as a business owner, begin to spend time to assess what are those extra resources that I already possess, but I am neglecting because I am expecting something from outside to come and complement me. Because this reevaluation begins with the discipline of you just say, you know what, slow down. You are so agitated and getting angry at life because of what you want and you're not getting. But can you slow down and say, you know what, I've been trying to get this, but it's not coming. How can I use what I am overlooking or a dormant capacity? And how can I execute it in a better way to get new results that I have not had before because I've been thinking in a narrow way? So this is where you're kind of doing a systematic audit of examples. Okay, since I cannot get what I desire, all right, let me audit my current skill set. Let me audit my current relationships. Let me audit my current assets. Let me audit this and that so that I can begin to discover hidden resources that I have wasted as a result of inattention to those things. You see, one question that a professional and people who are in business that we must learn to ask is, what am I already holding that can be both present and future value? You see, this is from the scriptures, right? All of the things I teach actually are always scriptural based. Now, and this is a principle that God uses. When God meets Moses, he utilized the staff that Moses was having for new breakthroughs, right? When David met Goliath, David utilized the slingshot he already had to defeat a giant, and there was a breakthrough into a whole new level in life. You can see that almost everywhere in scriptures, right? So your ability to sit and say, hey, What am I already holding that has both present or future value? And I am not paying the right attention to it. So the stage of re-evaluation prevents what you can call expensive mistakes of chasing new opportunities while ignoring existing and underused strength. Like I was talking to a lady one time in Canada, and she was complaining of not getting a good job. It's okay, you know what? Let's come back. If looking at both informal and formal skills, what can you do so well? What can you do so well? I used to, she said, once I owned a restaurant back in Cameroon. I said, okay, Cameroonian communities will always want food for their events and for their houses. Can you be able to start cooking food that people love from their various tribes, like maybe Achu, Watafu, and Ero, Kati Kati, and can you find a way to start getting other Cameroonians to know that that's what you can do? Can you start from that level? You see, what brought her that level was re-evaluating what she has and she is ignoring, or what you can call underused strength. So there is something that I always use known as asset scoring. Asset scoring. Now, asset scoring has three things. With asset scoring, when I'm doing, let's say, coaching with somebody, and I want to walk you guys through that, try to practice it with me, right? I will challenge you to do one thing. Number one, can you list every available asset, including skills, relationship, tools, even content ideas, data, anything that you can call an asset, can you list it? Number two, and this is the most important part in this asset scoring. Listen carefully, very important part. In step two of asset scoring, can you score each asset based on usefulness, uniqueness, and ease of redeployment? Pick each asset. Look at where you are right now in life. How useful is that asset? How unique is that asset? And how can you easily redeploy that asset and get paid? Every asset, you can do this with every asset. So start by scoring the asset, listing every available asset. Your skill is an asset because anything that can help you make more money is an asset. So let's pick a skill based on where you are right now. You want more money. Okay, no problem. You want to double your income. Okay, no problem. Can we focus on your skill set or intellectual property? Can you list me your top 3 skills, top 5 high income skills that you have? Can we start from there? Okay, let's look at what is the usefulness of this skill? What is the uniqueness of this skill based on the market where you are or the location where you are? All right, how can you easily redeploy this skill and get paid for it? Then step 3, take action. So in asset scoring, step 1, list the available assets that you have. Asset, skills, relationships, data, tools, whatever that you can have that can, anything that can help you make money, list it. Number 2, score each asset based on 3 things: usefulness, uniqueness, and ease of redeployment. And you're good to go. And then you take action. If you do this consistently, it doesn't matter the environment where you are going to make money. And the challenge is, for many people, it is that inability to take action. But you need to reevaluate this stage 1. Let me give you examples. Let us say that somebody here, I saw secondary school teachers here, right? Let's say that you are a secondary school teacher and you want to practice this level 1 or this stage 1 of reevaluation. So, as a secondary school teacher, you can review your experiences. You can review your teaching experience. And then you can realize that, oh, based on your teaching material, based on your ability to create teaching curriculum, outlines, and storytelling skills as a teacher, you can package that into a digital resource and train other teachers, or you can create an after-school program for parents who are busy professionals and they can get their kids to attend your program and you get paid. So instead of chasing extra jobs, you can begin to use existing teaching asset, teaching skills and experience to earn and to even become an authority in that industry. You see, you re-evaluated yourself. Say, oh, apart from just depending on my teaching job and getting paid monthly salary, you re-evaluate and say, you know what? With all these teaching skills, curriculum creation skills, storytelling skills, student management skills, all of these things. Oh, how can I package a digital resource? Or how can I even become a consultant where private schools can hire me to train their teachers to be better at this? Or how can I create an after-school program? And I'm targeting on the parents who are busy professionals and business owners, and they want their kids to be very successful in school. You are not just creating extra classes, no, a well-designed after-school program. How can you do that? For example, one of the most prevalent issues in Africa is people consistently going to school because there are no jobs. After HND, BSc, master's degree, PhD, and then they're still stranded after PhD. So let's assume that you're here and you are a master's graduate and there's no job. You're not thinking, oh, you know what? How can you're not thinking, oh, I'm going to take a PhD program because there's no job. You see, to apply the judicious utility strategy, you say, you know what? I am not going to go for a PhD now to get something new. But to apply this strategy, you can sit down and reevaluate, let's say, your thesis, your research data, or reevaluate your academic networks. These are assets. Now, for example, how can you extract insight from your dissertations, from your published articles? And how can you approach institutions, industries, approach NGOs, businesses, not as a job seeker, but as an expert in a field that you have done research in? And instead of chasing jobs, how can you present yourself as somebody who has a solution with data-driven solution, and they will need you? And this is something I've done for so many people on different coaching programs. PhD holders, MSc holders, and they're able to convert their thesis into something that companies can pay them for, NGOs can pay them for. You see, they just re-evaluated what they had and converted it into something different. So after re-evaluation, step 2 is reinvention, which is one of the most important things to know how to do in this program, in this strategy. Reinvention. Now, the purpose of reinvention is adapting existing assets for new use cases. In other words, you are asking the question, how can my skills, how can my resources be applied in a new high demand area? You see, many people are stuck because they're trying to sell to the same people for years and years and years. Many a times your breakthrough in income and wealth creation comes from reinvention. Can you adapt existing value, existing skill set, existing resources to a new high demand area? What you already possess sometimes is often underdeployed or poorly arranged for the wrong people. And sometimes to break through, you just need to reinvent and adapt who you are delivering the value to. You see? So, because there is something right now that the people you are delivering to, they're seeing it as something old. But if you're able to reinvent the delivery and deliver it to a new area and possibly a high demand area, you are going to experience breakthrough. So, reinvention requires you being in that place where you intentionally reconfigure either familiar tools, familiar skills, or familiar talents into new and relevant, problem-solving environments. Because for some people, their abilities, their professional abilities can be dormant because they are not delivering that ability where it can be valuable. So when you are able to reframe it and deliver it in a high demand environment, there is breakthrough. So when you practice reinvention, it disciplines you, it challenges you to convert either past experiences or your skills into industries that you have never considered that you can venture into that industry. So when you're trying to reinvent, you are asking questions like, what old patterns, what old knowledge, what old skills can I rearrange and deliver as a new solution to a new set of people? It changes everything for you. You see, because when you are able to adapt, you can thrive. When you're able to thrive, you can increase revenue without necessarily bringing something new into your life. For example, to understand this reinvention, let's take a marriage counselor. I'm using this because one of my students is into marriage counseling, right? Let's take a marriage counselor. A marriage counselor typically provides one-on-one counseling, right? But a marriage counselor can reinvent her private counseling technique into a group workshop for companies who want to address workplace conflict and emotional resilience. You see how this counselor is reinventing herself from just focusing on counseling marriages and breaking into the corporate space and providing training for conflict and emotional resilience. Why? Because in marriage counseling, she's dealing with conflicts and emotions. But she can now reinvent herself and say, you know what? Businesses, NGOs, institutions, they face workplace conflict and their employees struggle with emotions and mental health issues. So she reinvents herself, uses the same set of skills, but she readapts for a new audience into a new market, and she gets paid for it. But if you don't think reinvention, you will focus on the marriage counseling, one-on-one consultation, and you are so gifted, but yet you're not making money the way you should make. But if you're able to break into the corporate world and convert that experience and your skill set to solve workplace conflicts and provide emotional intelligence training in the workplace, you can get paid better and create more impact. So what are you doing here? Because of reinvention, you are reframing relationship principles to fit a corporate professional setting. Now, the same value can now serve both families and organizations. Then financial breakthrough now comes in. Many people are stuck financially because they don't know how to reinvent themselves. Take the same skill, the same knowledge, the same experience, and try to break into something new. If you are learning something, type the word learning in the chat box to be sure that you are not sleeping on me. Is this impacting you? Type impact in the chat box. Learning or impact? Give me some feedback. Give me some feedback. I want to be sure that this is doing some work, some work for you. All right, happy to see that. So that is the concept. How many of you here need to do reinvention? Type reinvention in the chat box. You know that you need to do reinvention. You can see areas you need to reinvent. And you see, that's why sitting down to think about your career is important. All right. Now, let me give you another example. A fashion designer. One of my clients in consulting is a fashion designer. Let me use a fashion designer. As a fashion designer, your focus is traditional tailoring. For 10 years, for 5 years, you have been focusing on just traditional tailoring. You're providing tailoring activities, making dresses for people. But as a result of online education, as a result of online education, personal development becoming a big booming industry, you can reinvent yourself as a fashion designer and convert traditional tailoring techniques into an instructional online course. You see, you just break out from being a traditional person and boom, you're thinking of having an online course for aspiring designers around the world. You're targeting them because when you get online with your course, you're not targeting only Cameroonians or Nigerians or Kenyans or Ghanaians. No, you're targeting everywhere around the world. So instead of only making dresses, you now reconfigure your skills into a teaching business and you reach new markets without sewing new dresses. So you take the same skill and you reinvent while you're still making new dresses, you are making money from a paid online program. But if you don't reinvent, you will not see that breakthrough. And you can keep making money from one area only. But when you reinvent and begin to think, how can I judiciously use this particular skill in multiple ways? Right? Let's take PhD graduates. I have dealt with many of them a few times. PhD students, PhD graduates, no jobs. You see, a graduate can reinvent his or her thesis research into a practical consulting tool or product or business for industries. I have helped a good number of PhD people to become consultants. Because if you go through a good PhD program, you do a lot of studying and research and trial and error and testing. That is a lot of impact, a lot of feedback that you can be a good expert in that field if you know what to do. You see that? So whether you're from biology, chemistry, business, technology, non-profit, conflicts, peace, whatever. So reinvent yourself from, oh, because I have a PhD, how can I get a job? How can I get a lecturing job? How can I get this and that? But how can you start thinking in terms of, oh, because of all my exposure in this area, because of so much research I have done, how can I instead create a consulting service and begin to serve particular industries and institutions in this area? Reinvention. Begin to find more ways to use that particular skill that you have. It helps you. So, reevaluation, reinvention, then repositioning. Repositioning. Stage 3. Repositioning. If you are going to break through and experience new financial opportunities, one thing you must know how to do is know how to reposition yourself. Know how to move value to the right audience who needs your value the most. It's very important. So, under repositioning, one question you're trying to answer is, who needs my value the most and how can I reach them? You see, from business consulting, I have noticed that many people never think in this light. When I ask many entrepreneurs, Okay, tell me about your clients. They will say many amazing things. Then I will ask them, among all of these people, who needs your value the most? Like, who is desperate to consume this value? And how can you reach them? Many people never answer this question the right way. They never answer the question the right way. If you are going to always experience financial breakthroughs, one thing you must know how to do is always identify clearly. Your value can serve many people, that is true. But among the many people, there are some people again who need your value the most. And if you know how to reach them, when you focus on reaching them, there will always be a spillover effect, and others can keep buying from you, even though they are not your perfect audience. So, repositioning demands clarity. It demands clarity in terms of spending time to identify who truly benefit the most from the existing solutions and resources you already have. So, you are in a place right now where you want to increase your income. Okay, that's good. You want to make more money from what you already have. That is good. So, one question you can ask yourself is, okay, based on this that I have, who needs this the most right now? Who is the perfect person that needs this the most? And you see, this is important also for those who provide services. See, for example, there are some of my consulting programs that I happily charge a good amount of money for it, and I don't blink when I'm charging it because I know that if I know the kind of problem you have, I know that you're going to pay this amount. So if I'm charging a few millions for it or a few hundred of thousands for it, I am not blinking, I am not wandering, and I'm not going backward, I'm not going forward. Because when I'm designing every product, one answer I try to get always is, who is the most important person who needs this particular value, and how can I get them to pay? When you get an answer to that, you will always experience breakthroughs because your ability to create wealth depends on your ability to understand what you have as your commercial capability and how can you get it to the right people to pay for it, whether you're an employee or you're a business person. You get the perspective. So repositioning enables you to shift your focus from generic audience towards strategically aligned set of people. And you can also call them high value clients. So I like to always ask this question, okay, based on this skill set, based on this product, define your high value client. Who is your high value client? Because when you understand your high value client, it also affects your messaging, your campaign, and your sales conversation. So repositioning ensures that when you are investing certain efforts in a particular set of people, you know that they have the capacity and the willingness to reward you for your value. See, if you're here and you are selling something and you're constantly marketing to some people and they're not paying the way you expected, one probable challenge or issue is that you are marketing to people that don't have capacity to pay or they are not willing to reward you for your value. So you can spend years marketing to them and they're never buying. That's why, from experience, I have noticed that a particular WhatsApp group dedicated for a particular purpose, you easily always convert people from that WhatsApp group to pay for your particular services. Why? Because For example, I have a WhatsApp group on skill monetization. It's about almost 700 members. You see, in that WhatsApp group, when I promote any service on coaching, consulting, training on monetization, there are people from that group that always pay for it. Why? Because the audience in that group is a willing audience. Are there some people that are willing and don't have capacity to pay? Yes. But because of the willingness, there are more people that will have capacity to pay. Like somebody reached out to me one time. I think it was yesterday, after yesterday. He's in the Mini-MBA WhatsApp community where we're doing admissions. And he said, I thought of leaving because I didn't have money to pay for the current program. But I decided to stay. And I'm challenging myself that within the next 2 months, I can register for the Mini-MBA program. You see, he has the willingness to take the program, but the capacity is not there. So as a business person, many times I have done a lot of strategy reevaluation for many businesses around this particular topic. Many businesses. They're like, Joybert, we have been marketing and we're not selling. And when we do research and auditing and reevaluation, we notice that they are abusing marketing and promoting to people that don't have the capacity and the willingness to pay for it. So they're liking your post, but they are not paying. They're liking your post, but there are no inquiries. So the power of repositioning in this stage 3 is that it challenges you to ensure that every effort you are investing in a particular audience, you are investing in the audience that have the capacity and the willingness to reward your value. So the question for you is, what you have been marketing in the last few months or few weeks, the people you're marketing to. That's why, for example, paid ads. If you do paid ads for somebody who is not an expert, you can spend money in paid ads and never make money. And that's why in countries like America, United States, Canada, and so on, Germany, where they have good street infrastructure. For example, when you're doing paid ads in the United States or in Canada or in the UK, you can choose a particular zip code where you want that ad to show, because you have done your research and you have discovered that the richest people or middle class families or people who make a particular kind of income, they live in this particular kind of zip codes or areas. So when you're doing a paid ad, the guy doing it or you doing it, you ensure that the ad focuses on promoting what you are selling around the neighborhood where people have the capacity to pay and the willingness to pay. But if it is promoted blindly, it can make so many people who have no willingness and no capacity. You see, and this is where also being able to build a community for people that are interested in what you're selling is important. And this is where also creating content around what you're selling is very important. Why? Because when you constantly create content around what you sell, people now follow you based on that content. So when you are launching a product to sell, many a times those who are following you already have the willingness and maybe the capacity to pay for what you're selling. That's why in the social media age, it is dangerous to be creating content on all kinds of topics. Yes, it's not good. Entertainment, you post. Football, you post. Relationship, you post. Agriculture, you post. Husband and wife are fighting, you post. You are posting Jack and Jill everywhere. So your followers are scattered. Your followers are scattered. So there is no repositioning. But if you maintain a lane and say, you know what, based on my expertise, based on my industry, I am going to focus on creating content around this area of life. If you stay on it consistently month after month, you're going to build followership of people who are willing to consume your ideas and are capable of paying if you start selling something. You get the concept? So for some people, your repositioning will start with changing the kind of content that you post or you participate with. You see? And repositioning multiplies impact by aligning the same skill or the same asset or the same value with different people and often a larger market who can happily consume what you're selling. And one thing about this repositioning is that it requires courage to leave your comfort zone. You see, many people are so comfortable in unprofitable zones or unprofitable markets. So if you are going to reposition, you must be comfortable at leaving your comfort zone. For some people, repositioning may mean that they may need to leave another city to another city. For some people, it may mean that, you know what, the market I am looking for is not on TikTok. The market is on LinkedIn, maybe. And for somebody is the market is not on LinkedIn, the market is on TikTok. So, because the goal of repositioning is that how do I move my value to the right audience, to the people that need my value the most, and they are where I can reach them. That's how breakthroughs begin to happen. You see, like for example, some of my biggest consulting contracts that have paid me good money came from LinkedIn, not Facebook, right? And most of my international trips to go speak in different events came from LinkedIn and certain kind of platforms, not from Facebook. Why? Because I always call Facebook big compound. Facebook is like a big compound because most people that follow you on Facebook are family members, friends, childhood friends, schoolmates, colleagues, church members. It's just a big compound for many people. Very few people have people on Facebook beyond friends, family, and colleagues. You see that? So if you are creating value only for them, you're going to face challenges in breaking out beyond that particular level. So to reposition, you may need to start using algorithms like on LinkedIn, that LinkedIn is trained to promote what you share beyond who you know. Because Facebook is about community. It's about how can I connect you with your childhood friend that you once knew and you guys lost contact. That's why Facebook will recommend people that have the same, let's say, where they live with you. Under LinkedIn can recommend people to you based on career, based on industry related matters. But Facebook, their algorithms are trained to connect you with, if you put on your Facebook that you went to this particular school, Facebook algorithm is trained to push your profile to people that have that school on their profile to you. You get the perspective? Because the aim of Facebook is how can we help people to connect with their lost long contacts? That's the goal of Facebook. But the goal of LinkedIn is how can we help people to get more professional contacts with people they have never met? You see? So you begin to think in that light in terms of repositioning. Because if you are not repositioning, it means that you are not training yourself to observe the shifting trends, the way your industry is changing, or even your environment or your country is changing, and aligning your services and your value with the emerging demands of the people. For example, how can repositioning work for, let's say, a tech founder? Many tech guys who can build websites and apps, at first, they are very comfortable building these things only for clients. But a simple repositioning, I'm talking about individual clients, but a simple repositioning in targeting enterprise clients can multiply their income and their impact. For example, I have so many pastors in my community, right? So, for example, a pastor can discover that, oh, I am very good at not only leading people, but I am good at teaching leadership. Okay, so a pastor can recognize that his leadership development content is not only for his congregation, but his leadership content is good for civic leaders and business executives. So he can now reposition his teaching into and start creating executive retreats. You see, he's now repositioning his language, repositioning his target audience. Instead of organizing leadership programs for church members, he goes beyond that. He now repositions it and says, you know what? I will start organizing executive retreats. I will start organizing leadership seminars targeting NGO owners. He started expanding his reach beyond the church walls. That's repositioning. Repositioning his value to address a whole new audience that they can understand what they're delivering. Okay, I've seen a nurse here. Let's take a nurse, for example. If a nurse is practicing repositioning, a nurse can think in terms of how do I move from serving clients one-on-one to training healthcare workers, to training schools, to training community organizations who want to promote or send out public health experts. How can she now build a career around that in a way that she can become so good that United Nations agencies can hire her on a contract to train public health experts, or NGOs that deal with public health projects can hire her as a training expert to train their local volunteers to go do what they're doing. You see, you are repositioning your value to a whole new audience. You see that? Or let's say a software engineer, that the engineer, maybe you started and you're focusing on freelance jobs. Okay, how can you start pitching your ideas to small and medium-sized enterprises who are struggling with workflow inefficiencies? How can you reposition your communication and begin to target decision makers, people that have large budgets? How can you sell to them and increase your income and your impact? So if you're going to break through and experience new income sources or create wealth better, you have to think in terms of repositioning. So we have seen what? Type in the chat box we are following. We have seen what was number one? Reevaluation. What was number two? Reinvention. What was number three? Repositioning. And then number four, reinvestment. Reinvestment. What does that mean? Now, this is where you're focusing on scaling and amplifying your success. Because you cannot be talking about breakthroughs. You cannot be talking about making more money when you are not thinking of amplifying and scaling. And what is the best way to start amplifying and scaling without depending on external resources is to start thinking of reinvestment. In other words, you're focusing on how can I reinvest the success I am experiencing now to create what they call in business a compounding effect. A compounding effect. Because reinvestment has the capacity to direct you to start focusing on how can I channel the surplus I am getting from this business? How can I channel that surplus into a venture that can multiply the achievement I have been having. Because the goal here is to ensure that your success is compounding instead of stagnating. You see, many people are stagnated. They are making the same amount of money over and over, month after month. Many people are stagnated because of lack of investment. So, if you are going to break stagnation and experience breakthrough and produce better money making opportunities, you need to learn how to reinvest either the income you're making or reinvest the resources that you have access to with the purpose of compounding that success so that you don't stagnate. In other words, the goal is how can you turn repeated wins into repeated cycles of growth? For example, I'm going to give more tailored examples, but let me give an example for me. Now, years ago, I used to be very successful in organizing on-site seminars and even online seminars, and I'm teaching live, repeating the programs throughout the year, right? People pay and all of that. I've lived for years without working full-time, making money from just talking, training, and speaking, right? Almost 13 years. So, Bert, when I started thinking of scaling and amplifying, I had now to take the money I was making from live trainings like this or speaking engagements across different platforms and countries. I now invested that money into platforms that can now host my courses, where even if I am not speaking live, there is a human being somewhere around the world consuming my content and paying me. Even as I'm speaking here live right now, there are many students taking programs in other academies that I've recorded and I'm not there because I have reinvested part of the money in building a system to do that. So it creates new breakthroughs to make money. You get the perspective. So if you're anybody here that you are already producing results in whatever area, start thinking of how can you reinvest the results you're producing to scale and to amplify the success you are already recording. And here's one thing about reinvesting is that reinvestment requires patience because you cannot apply reinvest your profit today and expect more profit tomorrow. So you must be comfortable at delaying immediate gratification so you can harvest big in the long run and maybe consistently. Because professionals and entrepreneurs and leaders who reinvest profit, they expand their operations beyond their personal capacity. And they create kind of enduring, systems that maintain momentum consistently. And when certain momentum is maintained, income consistently comes in. You see that? So, for example, let's take a secondary school teacher. A secondary school teacher can reinvest his or her monthly salary. Or you started monetizing your teaching methods through workshops or digital resources. And as a teacher, maybe you started by hosting WhatsApp programs, for example, or you started by using your phone and hosting programs on Zoom like this. And you want to use reinvestment strategy. As a teacher, you can reinvest profit into better recording equipment and get a section of your house and set those equipments there and focus on recording better teaching programs for both students and even other teachers. and focus on wider distribution of that value on bigger platforms so that you can compound your reach and turn what you have been doing into a whole educational brand. You see, that is reinvestment. Or you are an MSc graduate, right? A master's degree graduate, or a PhD graduate. You start thinking, hey, I have learned that I can convert my thesis into a consulting service or a consulting business. So maybe you can look at how can I get the little income I am making from whatever and enroll in Dr. Joybert Small Business Consulting Academy and learn what it takes to be a small business consultant. You see, you reinvest that income and you now use that experience to convert your applied research or your professional data or what have you, and begin to build intellectual assets that even people from other nations can pay you for. So what am I trying to say? Reinvestment is a mental model of wealth creation. Many people get stagnated because they never think of reinvestment. Right? I spoke about a pastor. That pastor, I said that the pastor can start creating leadership executive retreats and targeting people beyond the four walls of the church. Now, that same pastor now with a reinvestment mindset, that pastor can start thinking of, oh, you know what? How can I reinvest revenue from my leadership seminars into publishing books on international platforms like Amazon? And then how can I reinvest that income into partnering with a PR firm in London or in UK and let the PR firm promote my books in the right networks and position me to be booked by international organizations to come organize leadership sessions with their leadership teams in New York, Chicago, and all of that. I know people who have done this, but it requires money to do that. Or the same pastor can say, you know what? How can I reinvest the money I'm making from leadership seminars and build a media studio and focus on using that studio to run leadership lessons that people can enroll for mentorship from around the world? And I can sit in that studio from one place and I'm creating impact around the world and I am making money at the same time. So you see, this reinvestment shift his impact from maybe weekly sermons into long-lasting legacy that can even outlive his personal effort and make some good money for him. But you cannot begin to think in this light if you don't have a reinvention mindset. So as we round up, you see, when you study the elites, when you study those who are at the top of life, like the society is like this, like a pyramid, right? Those who are at the top, where my hands are, and then where my elbows are, the bottom, those are the poverty class, middle class, average people. That's why it's big. We have more poor people, more average people than those who are at the top, right? So the elite, those who are at the top in terms of mindset, wisdom, knowledge, finance, status, whatever, at the top here, right? The elite, they don't just innovate. No, they don't just create. One thing that the elites are good at is they are good at these things I have told you. How can I reevaluate? How can I reinvent myself? How can I reposition myself? And how can I reinvest and create more? If you practice these four things, you will improve what you're doing currently in multiple ways you cannot imagine. So assignment for you. Take all that you're doing currently. Step one, reevaluate it entirely from top to bottom. And then start thinking, in what multiple ways, I'll give you examples, in what multiple ways can I reinvent myself? Okay, how can I reposition this value and for who? How can I amplify what I'm currently doing by reinvesting? And what part of my operations do I need to reinvest money in? You see, because the more you are rich, is amplified. For example, for me to be able to broadcast what I'm doing right now on Zoom and then have people to watch on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on YouTube, and whatever, I need to invest money and pay Zoom and pay Restream so that I can multiply my impact. I have got coaching clients, speaking investments, speaking programs that they pay me from watching free trainings like this on different platforms. So the reinvestment pays back. But if I didn't scale the value I'm delivering to more platforms by reinvesting into systems and structures, I will not get it. You see, so the challenge for you today is get to work and do a serious auditing program for yourself. Reevaluate, reinvent, reposition, and reinvest. I have used this 4R coaching method for so many of my clients, and we always come out with mind-blowing results. So if you try it, I guarantee you, there will be a major shift in what you're doing. Not a small shift, a major shift. And even you will see more opportunities of making more money in what you're currently doing that you have never thought about it. Right? And like I always fondly say, anything that one single human being has ever paid you for, I guarantee you, there are 1,000 people more out there who are willing to pay you for the same thing. If you can just do it better. And this framework can help you improve on it and reach to more people that would happily pay you for the value that you are giving. All right, I can get 2 questions and we are good to go. And we have part 3 tomorrow. And then my birthday gift to you guys is over. Right. For those who are joining in late, it's good to have you guys here. This is part of the special program I organize every year, like 3 days towards my birthday as a birthday gift to my community, right? So I am the one giving gift instead of receiving gift, so that on my birthday, I focus on taking gift. Right. All right. I can get questions. So tomorrow is the last day, 8:30 same time. I will teach on the leverage and dominance model, another framework to help you create more wealth in your generation. So don't miss it. We look at that. And I strongly believe that I have shared very insightful things that if you apply for the rest of the year, your life can never, ever remain the same. All right. And then for those who are members of the ministry I run, Professionals and Entrepreneurs Fellowship, you know that part of the birthday package extends to you, where we've been having some special teachings on faith and kingdom wisdom, spirituality, the kingdom way. So on part 3, on day 3, 4 a.m. Cameroon time, we are looking at the 4 pillars to wield and exercise authority as a believer in the kingdom of God. All right, any question for me? If not, then my job for today is done. Any question for me? I think I saw a question in the chat box. How do we score these items if there are several? Just take one after another. Take one after another. Do all, one after another, one after another. If you like, you can draw a table. You can draw a table, list all of them, and then write usefulness, uniqueness, and redeployment. And you can use some, when I'm working with a client, I use on 10. Under usefulness, between 1 to 10, we now score. Let's say there are many things that want to score. We write all of them, like on the left side, we now do a table, 3 tables, usefulness, uniqueness, and redeployment. We use 1 to 10. We take number 1 on usefulness. We scale it. Under usefulness, 7 on 10, 5 on 10, all of that. We now total, we'll take the highest and we build on it. All right. So you can also do that. It's going to help you. All right. Good. Awesome. It seems there are no questions. So it means that either I was a very good teacher and you were very good students, or was a very good teacher and you were not good students. All right, people, see you tomorrow, same time, as we look at the last day of this special program. Please don't miss it. I think people are going to have questions on this because of some things I'm going to share that may contradict what people are used to. Okay, so attend live so that you will ask me questions live. All right, people, God bless you.